Welcome back. This is Good Morning Kenya. My name is Vivian Ndegwa, and right now we check into family check, and our topic of conversation today is on relationships, and specifically building resilience in relationships. And joining me for this conversation is a life coach by the name Elizabeth Kenywa. Liz,
Asante.
Welcome to the program.
Thank you so much for having me.
It's good to have you here.
Asante.
Now, if we may begin by trying to define what as a resilient relationship is. How do we define that?
Building a resilience in relationship means having to, the potential and the ability to bounce back from a challenge, an obstacle, a difficult season, a difficult phase that the two of you may have gone through. So the ability to bounce back is what we are saying, that you have resilience. So then that has to be built, because it will not just happen. So how do you work towards now building it so that when the storm hits, you're able to bounce back?
Bounce back.
Yes.
Yeah, and on that, what does it take to build a resilient relationship?
I think for there to build a resilience, it takes two people. Not one person working at it.
Takes two to tango.
Oh, definitely, man. You can't be putting all the effort and the other person is just receiving and receiving. Yeah. So there has to be two people involved, a high level of intentionality that this thing has got to work.
Yeah.
We are in this difficult phase, we are in this difficult moment, a challenging season that we are going through, but regardless of it, the two of us are going to work at it and on it. Number three, there has to be communication, because right there, the emotions will be everywhere. People will be pained, people will have uncertain moments, uncertainty. Yeah. They don't know what tomorrow is going to unfold. So unless you communicate your fears, your concerns, okay, and the place you feel probably this is the next step of action that we need to start taking in order for us to progress. Yes.
And speaking about that, what role exactly does communication play in all of this?
For me, I always say,
it seems like the cornerstone, kind of. So what role exactly does it play?
Communication is the oxygen supply for any relationship.
I love that.
So if you choke, you suffocate, or you step on the hose supply, then the relationship is dead. Regardless of the nature of the relationship, workspace, at home, or your colleagues, even where you live, the minute you choke that communication supply, the oxygen supply, then there's no relationship. So you've got to make it so open. And I always say the best technique to apply here is the listening and the hearing kind of technique, where you take time to listen. So I take time to listen to Vivian.
And it's actively listening.
Actively listening. Yeah. And that one is not easy. It doesn't just happen. Because many times I want to listen to Vivian in 10 seconds. I can summarize what Vivian is saying, what the problem might be. And so the next thing I want to slap you with is a solution. And many times that's not what the other person wants. Many times, especially women, they want to be heard. You just listen to me, not just be quick to give me solutions out of this. So it's a listening and a communicating, giving feedback kind of. You listen for you to be able to understand the other person, not necessarily to offer them solutions or escape routes. Yes.
So that's the proper way of communication.
Yes.
Like actively listening and, listening to understand, not listening just to
not listening to quickly give feedback, give solutions. And by the way, being listened to is very therapeutic. Someone, the way you're nodding, you're listening to me, it's very therapeutic. Imagine I'm pouring my heart to you. I'm telling you, I had this challenge, this happened, and then I met this guy, spoke to me so rudely, it felt painful, and you just, if you have to intercept, you say, oh, I'm so sorry. It's very therapeutic.
Yeah. Okay. And of course, in relationships, in any kind of relationship, really, conflicts do arise. Disagreements are bound to happen. So, what are the best ways to manage disagreements in relationships in order to ensure, to build that resilience, or to keep that resilience in a relationship?
Unless, again, communication, unless I air it out. I may not even realize we have a problem. So it's I speak it out. We begin from speaking it out. The second stage is to make sure that I am heard. Okay? And then the person hearing me now, we can now start negotiating what is the way forward from here. What adjustments can we make from here? For example, if someone has lost their job, we are almost, now at that point, you're entering into a crisis. Because if you are relying on the 2 salaries or 2 pay slips, one is gone, your relationship is now, or your engagement is based on one foot. It's a stool standing on one foot. So right there, we've got to communicate and start mapping the way forward. What do we do from here? Then there has got to be empathy applied to it. Because when you feel me, and there's a difference of just, you know, hearing me and sympathizing. Sympathizing is like, I'm not really at the core of feeling you, feeling your pain, feeling your fears and your concerns. But empathy goes right in there. And the way God has wired us, if someone is really empathizing with you, somehow you'll be able to feel it. As opposed to someone just sympathizing with you.
Right.
Because
I love that. So there's a difference between sympathizing with someone and being empathetic towards them.
Yes. When you're empathetic, I'm there for you. I'll walk with you this journey. Let me hear you out. Let me see ways in which I can help you out. Sympathizing, I'm like, oh I'm so sorry. Hannah, you'll overcome, don't worry. You're a strong girl. Okay. I'm done. I'm out of it now. But when I'm empathizing, I'm like, it's painful. I can feel your pain, but I'm involved in mapping ways to walk out of the challenge or the difficult moments. So I'm with you every step of the way. Yes.
And those are the proper channels to ensure that you manage your disagreements or the conflicts that may arise.
And if you have a different kind of where you feel offended, then there has to be an apology offered, apology accepted, and then the final stage is where now you amend your ways. Because you see, conflicts are very different, and crises, let's call them crises, are very different. Because when you've lost a job, I really don't owe you an apology. But when I've offended you, I have overspent the money that we had budgeted for, then I've crossed the line. So I owe you an apology, okay? The news is to reciprocate by accepting my apology. Because many people are stuck at, siombi msamaha. It had to happen, you know, and I have explanations like, I've already built a wall to justify why this had to happen. But, you know, therapy comes from you apologize, fine, I accept your apology, and then afterwards, then I have to see that you're working towards or against, away from the same issue that we're addressing. So if you're an alcoholic, what are you doing towards it? You just can't keep on saying sorry 50 times.
You can't be dealing with the same issue
exactly.
over and over again.
I have to see some effort for me to realize, anyway, this guy is determined towards working on this relationship. Yes.
And when it doesn't work out, when you're trying to work things out or work the disagreements, people should also be open to bring in a third party, or no?
Yes and no. Yes and no, depending on who is the third party.
Okay.
Vivian, your friend may not be your third party. Your friend may be your enemy. That's what I'm saying. It's a yes and a no. Depending on what exactly you're dealing with, professionals will come in best and hardy at this level because they are neutral parties. Okay? So if we have a challenge, fine, there's a place where you go open up to your friend and tell, by the way, this is what I'm going through and all that stuff. I'm not saying we rule that out, but be careful who you open up to your issues and your challenges that you may be going through. Remember, we are talking of a relationship, okay? And so there's something to guard right there, some territory to protect right there. So you have to be careful who gets to hear so much of your weakest point in that relationship. However, if you have to really seek counsel, go for professionals. Professionals who are not biased, they are very neutral. If you're wrong, they tell you you're wrong. They'll not sugarcoat it. If he's wrong, they tell him he's wrong. Yeah.
So you find someone that is completely neutral.
For me, yes.
Yeah. All right. Boundaries. You know, boundaries are a must in any kind of relationship, really, not just like for lovers, but any kind of relationship. So what are some of the tips that maybe one should take when setting boundaries? What do you look out for? What are you looking at when you're setting your boundaries? And how do you know that, okay, this is my boundary? Yeah.
It begins from you knowing yourself first. What do I like? What don't I like? What do I value? What are the principles I hold on to? Because then what will the other person respect? If you've not packaged it and brought it out for them to realize, Vivian doesn't like this. Vivian doesn't, you push her beyond this limit, she doesn't like it. So it begins from me. Who am I? Understanding myself. What are my values? What are my weak points?
Yeah.
Because all of us have that, you know, the place where the fuse will easily go off if it is touched, the weak point, okay? What are my belief systems? Such that when I'm coming to the table, this person already knows, this is me, this is Elizabeth, this is what I uphold mostly. You can't come empty-handed, Vivian, and expect the other person to respect you and respect your boundaries. So make yourself very clear. If you have to do all the assessments you have to do, sit back, ask your friends, who do you think I am? How do you look at me? So that as you package yourself, then you come knowing, this is Vivian.
Yeah.
This is how far I can go with this. This is what I believe. This is also what my friends believe in. There's a simple way we'd usually do it. It's called the Johari's window, where you can split it into 4, where Vivian knows and I know about Vivian. It's the simplest way we can go. So Vivian knows these are my strengths, these are my weaknesses. That we know. And then there's a second window where only Vivian knows, but the rest of the people don't know. Now there's a place where other people know that Vivian doesn't know. That's where now you meet people and they tell you, by the way, Vivian, you know you can be a good musician. And they're like, huh? Are you real? Then you realize, by the way, there's something inside me that keeps on ticking every time I listen to good music. There's a 4th section where only God knows. Well, they say it's a hidden window. For me, I call it the part that only God knows. So the minute you now decide to unleash me as Vivian, me as Elizabeth, the 4 parts for me play a key role. Then I come in as a whole human being. I don't come in pieces expecting the other person to start fixing me and imagining that they should have known these are my boundaries, this is my space. You know, I don't want you to mess beyond here. Nah.
So boundaries should be spoken, because there are people that normally are of the idea that there are boundaries that are unspoken. Like, we don't really need to say that, you know, this line you can't cross, because it's obvious.
What is obvious? There are those that are obvious, fine. But there are those, for me, I think you better speak it out, air it out, because you leave it to assumption, then you give yourself a 90% of someone crossing the line. For example, let's just look at the basic one, religion. What do I value about religion? I'm from this denomination, this is what we value, and blah, 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 and all that kind of stuff. The other person, that may not really be their outlook of things from where they do their, you know, spiritual nourishment from. So it is just good to mention. And you know, when you're mentioning these things, you're not in a fight kind of thing.
Yeah.
That's why when people are dating, I think the younger generation is more engaged in collecting photos, photo collection, instead of data collection. It should be a process of data, understanding who is Vivian. Vivian believes in this. This is what she doesn't like. This is what she really upholds in her life. Her career comes key. That you will not express in a moment of anger and all that stuff. Is when you're seated and someone is able to pick, wow, this is Vivian. This is, I think. But of course, there's that hidden part where the part that other people know, then they can also express it to you and tell you, by the way, I think Vivian, this and this and this place. That's what I feel.
All right. As we almost come to a close of this conversation because of time, when do we say that a relationship is healthy?
A relationship is healthy based on very many things. Based on the fact that, one, I feel secure.
Yeah.
I feel I can be vulnerable, and so I feel secure. So I can come at my weakest, and I'm appreciated at that level of my weakest point without feeling condemned. Because you don't have to show up looking strong all the time in a relationship. There are moments reality will hit you and you're down. You're at your lowest. So can that other person still accept me? Number two, do I feel comfortable when I'm around this person? Because then their relationship, you have to really work hard, you know, to try feel accepted, to try feel like, you know, so you have to go purchasing very expensive outfits, you know, taking this lady to very expensive places and all that stuff. So do I even feel comfortable when I'm around this person? Do I feel accepted? Do I feel appreciated? Do I feel heard? Okay, I'm rushing through because of time.
Yeah.
Do I also feel heard when I am in this? Because there are people who will come on the table and your suggestions are like, nah, that can't work. Hello? It takes two, as we began, to tango. So there's no way I can be speaking blank bullets and you're the only one who can be making sense in this relationship. So do I also feel like I'm being heard? Yes.
Okay. All right, now we have to call it a wrap on this conversation. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yes.
Elizabeth Kinyo, we always appreciate when you come through for these discussions. Now, this is where we get to end Good Morning Kenya for today. Thank you so much to each and every one of you who has been tuned in. We meet again tomorrow, same time and place. Take care.